Hello, friends. Good evening. Namaskar, Jai Hind. As you are aware, when the lockdown started and this entire corona crisis engulfed us in hopelessness, pessimism, worry, stress, despair, that is the time I realized that we still have life, the biggest gift of creation. And instead of being fearful, we should celebrate at least what we have, that is life. And that's when I started the Future of Life Festival. Because it is very important to understand where we are coming from, where we are today, and where we are going to go from here. And normally, we have got so used to television debates, and everybody sees people asking questions, somebody answering, and all of us are in such a hurry that we want quick questions, quick answers. We want like innocent kind of remedy for everything. We want everybody to concise their thoughts. And I said, no, I will start a new trend. We'll do unedited, uninterrupted, long conversation with thought leaders, with people who have made change, people who have influenced the society in a positive direction, people who are shaping the modern society and the modern world. And I very strongly believe that today India, Bharatvarsh, is geared to step into the new world. And I believe this new world will be based on two, three principles. One of them is Sada Jivan Uch Vichar, which is simple living, high thinking. Second thing is, in this globalized world, everybody has been talking about collaboration. I believe that India will take the world towards cooperation. And the third, last but not the least, the most important thing will be compassion, kindness, and primarily Sarv Kalyan. And when it comes to Sarv Kalyan and cooperation and Sada Jivan Uch Vichar, there are very few organizations who have done such amazing work of humanity. And one of them is one of the greatest, Akshaya Patra. Because feeding children is an act of God. Do you know that during this corona crisis, Akshaya Patra has fed more than 5 crore people, which is huge, huge, huge number. You can't imagine how huge it is. They feed almost 20 lakh, which is almost 1.8 to 2 million people every single day, children. And today with me is a great person who should have been a scientist, who studied at one of my favorite, most favorite institutes where I failed to get an admission, but ultimately I go and give lecture there. Indian Institute of Science, one of the best in the world. He's an engineer by education, but his soul, his purpose in life directed him towards feeding people, being of service to the community, and above all, showing light to the humanity. A great spiritual soul who I am extremely impressed with. And today he is going to talk. I'll just like a student going to listen to him. In fact, I told him before this that please guide me. I also want to walk on the spiritual path, though I do, but I want to do more for the society. Like at the Future of Life, we are doing social service. So I am really, really glad to invite a wonderful human being, Chanchalpathi Dasa ji. Welcome on the show. Namaskar.
Namaskar, namaskar. So happy to be with you, Vivek ji.
I am delighted to have you on this show for two reasons. What a great service you are doing to humanity, Indian community, and above all, you are also one of those rare scientists who are showing people the path of spirituality. So we are going to have a nice session today.
Happily look forward.
So let me just first, before we come to Akshaya Patra, which we will eventually, what is an engineer doing in spiritual world, full-time spiritual world? rather than working in some big multinational corporations and driving a BMW?
There is more joy here than in doing any of those. And so, yes, as you rightly said, that my life was going on in one direction. And from my school days, I was very fascinated by science. And so I wanted to pursue more of research and such things. But then at some point in my life, certain things triggered some of my teachers and some of my friends. And my interest in science, and then I also began to get interested in philosophy. And then at some point, I got introduced to Indian philosophy. And then I found that the Indian philosophical systems are very profound, intellectually very rigorous. It is debated and discussed to arrive at better and better understanding of reality. And so I found that some of the very profound questions that science was actually looking for were actually understood, discussed, and in Indian system of philosophy. So I was continuing to do this simultaneously. And then at some point, I realized that I must plunge into this and get into this very, very seriously. And that's how I made that transition from being in the field of science and engineering and pursuit of material things like you mentioned, and to take up spirituality seriously.
So, what was that turning point? What was that single most important event or single most important phase of your life when you actually decided that you should make this transition? Was there any turning point? What was that moment of enlightenment? And second follow-up question on that is, what is that one single most important thing about Indian spirituality which attracted you?
Okay. In terms of any event that happened in my life that turned around, there was no such radical event like that. I was deeply influenced by the works and life of Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder of ISKCON Society.
Hmm.
Srila Prabhupada comes in a very ancient tradition in our country. He comes in the tradition of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I remember from our high school history books, not too much is known generally about Chaitanya. And even I did not know much being in South India. And so Prabhupada comes in that parampara. And one interesting feature about Srila Prabhupada was he wrote books and he spoke in English language. And that language, which easily, as a young person at that time, I was a college student, I could quickly grasp and understand. And he made very profound philosophical concepts very lucid and simple and easy to understand. And so I started hearing about his philosophical, his discourses, and started reading his books. And going to the next question, what is it that in Indian philosophical system, I found, in fact, this is one of the things that really impressed me was there is tremendous integrity between the philosophy that Prabhupada spoke and the personal life that he lived. There was no incongruence. He lived by the principles he taught. And so I saw that he was very genuine, very sincere. There was no pretensions. And he really wanted to himself be in touch with the truth and share that truth with the rest of the world to enrich people's lives and make people happy. He said, my mission in life is to make people happy. And usually people think that happiness is defined in terms of sensual happiness and
Yeah.
aggrandizing material things. Maybe there is a certain place for material, have things that you need for the maintenance of the body, mind, system in a healthy state of situation. But there are human life enables us to discover and explore other forms of happiness other than just sensual happiness. And so I found these kind of things that Prabhupada talked about in his books and in his talks, and he would live by those. And usually I come across people, there was incongruence between what they spoke and what they did in their lives. So this was one of the strong things that deeply impacted me and which made me take to this one more seriously.
And it's been what, more than 30 years now you have been into spiritual life, or more?
Yes, about 37 years or so.
Oh my God, 37 years. So did you work anywhere? Did you take up a job, or you straight away came into this life?
No, soon after my, from Indian Institute of Science, I joined ISKCON Bangalore.
Okay. And since then, it's been like total committed life to this.
Right, right.
And but I must ask you, because it's for a personal reason. Uh, if you have to say, what has been if you have to share this experience in briefly, what would you tell me if I'm a seeker and um, I want to get to the next level of my life? And if I ask you, how will you share your experience with me in briefly? How will you define these 37 years? What
Okay,
is it biggest payoff of this 37 years?
okay. On the one hand, what I practice, what I follow is very logically very sound on the
Okay.
as taught in our Vedic literatures, like the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Bhagavatam. And the second part of it is, it's not just knowledge. You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Gnanam teham sa vignanam idham vakshamya sheshataha. I am teaching you knowledge, jnana, and vijnana, which is realization. You know,
Hmm.
you may have a lot of bookish knowledge, theoretical, but have no experience or a perception of that higher knowledge. So, no, what Krishna teaches, what the Vedic literature teaches is not just a theoretical framework of knowledge and information, but a certain process by which you can elevate your consciousness and come to the point of experiencing that to varying degrees according to one's progress. And once as Sukham atyantikam yathad buddhi grahyam atindriyam. Krishna himself says that the what one experiences is unlimited happiness, which is intellectually grasped and it is beyond senses. So this is the kind of an experience, this is the kind of a promise that Krishna makes. And I see that this is very sound. And every day it's a very fresh understanding, a fresh experience. It's never hackneyed, it's never monotonous. And so I see that every day what I am experiencing, what I am doing, what I am learning, something very fresh about it, which is one of the features of the truth that Krishna talks about.
That's true. In fact, I have also gone through, like any ordinary person, through many crises many times in life. And initially, I used to deal with them in typical textbook fashion. But then, so about a decade ago, I started reading Gita again, and I suddenly found a new meaning. And I found on one hand, it gives you spiritual direction to your life, but it also solves your problems in a very metaphysical way. It's just such a great combination. And uh, in fact, there was a very interesting thing somebody was telling me, and somebody took a copy of Gita from somebody's house, and he said, "Oh, I've never read it. Let me take it. Let me borrow it for some time." And this gentleman took it and came back after a month. And he said, "Why do you keep talking so highly about this book? Because whatever is written there, I always knew it." So that is also simplicity of this. You know, it's a wonderful, I think everybody on this earth, Gita can really show you great direction. A lot of people want me to ask you what is Dharma and stuff like that, but we'll come to that towards the end of the show. I am very impressed with the work of Akshaya Patra. Mr. Mohandas Pai introduced me to Akshaya Patra, and
Okay.
I have always been like a unappointed brand ambassador of Akshaya Patra.
Oh,
I don't
wonderful.
know why, and I don't know why. I never promote any organization. I don't do all those things. A lot of people come, he will give you money, do this, do that, but somehow from the bottom of my heart, I always felt something good about Akshaya Patra.
Thank you.
Please tell us in detail, A, what is Akshaya Patra, though we know, but what actually is the fundamental belief or the philosophy behind Akshaya Patra? And then we'll come to follow up questions.
Very good. As I was telling you, Srila Prabhupada is the founder of ISKCON and his great saintly qualities. There was one incident in his life. This was in the 1970s. He had inaugurated a Krishna temple in a remote place about 150 kilometers from Calcutta on the banks of Ganga in a place called Mayapur.
Okay.
Why have we gone to Mayapur? Why are we on the banks of Ganga? What is the reason? That is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So
Okay.
I mentioned to you that he is in the tradition of Chaitanya. So
Yeah.
that's in place because Chaitanya was born there. Today it is in West Bengal today, in a district called Nadia.
Hmm.
So he was opening a temple there. And on the day of inauguration of the temple and the installation of the Vigraha of Krishna, and a big feast was served to all the visitors who had come, guests who had come from, large number of guests had come from Calcutta. And after the feast in the afternoon, he was in his room, which was actually on the first floor of a building there. Suddenly he heard dogs barking and small children screaming and crying out. So he walked up to the window and he was shocked to see that there were poor village children shooing away stray dogs to gather some to gather some food which was strewn in the leaf plates, banana leaf plates, which was strewn there to gather some food for themselves.
Hmm.
And Srila Prabhupada was a very compassionate person. Seeing that, there were tears in his eyes.
Hmm.
And he called the leaders of ISKCON at that time, and he said, just see how hungry these children must be.
Hmm.
And he reasoned with them. We
Hmm.
have invited Krishna to our temple. Krishna
Hmm.
is like the father of everyone. And where the father is, his children should not be hungry.
Hmm.
So he said, he gave a directive that you leaders of ISKCON must ensure in a 10-mile radius of an ISKCON temple, Krishna temple, you must ensure nobody goes hungry, especially children. So this was the directive that Prabhupada had given. And in ISKCON, we had done some kind of a feeding program here and there. Then what we had, I don't know if you have come to Bangalore and seen our temple in Bangalore. We have a ISKCON Krishna temple. Have you come to this temple by any chance?
I've crossed it. I haven't gone inside, but I will come next time.
Okay, next time you must.
In
So
Bombay,
we have
I go all the times. Yeah, Bombay, Hare Krishna
the
temple, I
Juhu
go there
temple.
all the times. Yeah, very often.
Juhu temple. Yeah, very good. Very similar. We have a temple here in Bangalore. So our temple was inaugurated in the year 1997. So, and then we had the President of India come and inaugurate the temple. And then this was in the year 2000. One Sunday morning, like you said, Mohandas Pai and one close school friend of his, Abhay Jain, both of them came to our temple. And so they had darshan, and then they wanted to meet us. So they met Madhu Pandit Das, who is the president of the temple, and myself. We were chatting. And then Mohan said, Swamiji, you have got a nice temple. And so why don't you also do some social initiative? And then he gave different ideas, sewing machines, computer programming, computer training to young people. This is 2000. Bangalore was big about IT and all that. And he comes from an IT background. So he was telling few things like that. And then he also mentioned about Tamil Nadu's midday meal program. So, and then he said, Swamiji, think over and I'll come back in a few weeks. And then he went away. Both of them went away. And after that, Madhu Pandit Das and I were reflecting, thinking, what is that we should do? He said he will come back. Let's have some answer when he comes back. At that time, this anecdote in the life of Srila Prabhupada struck us. And then we thought, we had a festival kitchen in the temple, and that kitchen was being used about 10 times in a year. And so we said that let's cook some food and take it to children in government schools. And let's introduce like the midday meal program that he talked about in Tamil Nadu. It is happening. At that time, in the year 2000, Karnataka did not have a cooked meal program. Most states did not have a cooked meal program in the year 2000, except Tamil Nadu. I think Kerala and Gujarat had, but otherwise there was no cooked meal program. In most of the states, there was a dry ration distribution. A child would get 3 kilos of rice per month. So we did a little bit of a survey. And then we found that when the child gets 3 kilos of rice, the child takes it home, the father sells it, and most of the times the father will buy a bottle of liquor, and finally the child doesn't get the benefit. So this was a reality. So by the time in the next few weeks when Mohan came, we had this idea that we will convert our kitchen and cook, and he liked very much. And then we told him, Mohan, we can cook the food, but then we don't have a vehicle to transport. And so he said, no, I will donate a vehicle. So we thought that, big thing, we got a vehicle donation from him. Actually, what we did not realize was the cost of vehicle is very less. The running cost was very big. He had tricked us into that. And later on, so anyway, we started feeding 1,500 children and in the outskirts of Bangalore city. And the teachers were all very surprised that we are coming every day and feeding their children. And so we got news that many children who were enrolled in the school were not showing up in the school. But now the news had spread in the village that a meal is being provided in the school. So more children started showing up in the school. And then the teachers said that the children are full of energy in the classroom, outside the classroom, and even that has encouraged us to teach better. So we thought that these few things, like, increasing children to come to the school and children enthusiasts, it encouraged us. We continued to do more. And then we kept on, and then we kept getting requests from other schools asking us to feed in their school. And we used to just put those letters written by headmasters in a folder. And after some time, we saw that there were a bundle of letters, requests, and we found that there were requests for about 25, 30,000 children. So it was at that time, Madhu Pandit Das, who is also has an engineering background from IIT Mumbai, IIT Bombay.
Okay.
So he designed the first mechanized kitchen in Bangalore in the ISKCON temple to prepare meals for 30,000 children. And that's how in the next about 1 year or so, we started feeding 30,000 children in Bangalore. And since then, we kept increasing. And today we feed about 2 lakh children in Bangalore. And then we got an invitation to another state. We went to Rajasthan, we went to Uttar Pradesh, we went to Gujarat, we went to Chhattisgarh, we went to Assam. Like that, we kept going. And in the last 20 years, as you rightly pointed out, we are having about 52 kitchens in 13 states and about 18 lakh children every day. And we work closely with the government of India and the state governments. That was another important turning point for Akshaya Patra. Earlier, we were funding it ourselves. From the year 2003, 2004, we started working with the government, and the government also had a cooked meal program to be implemented. And so we get a certain amount of support from the government, nearly 60% of the cost of the program from the government. And then 40% we raise donations. And so this is how our idea is in Akshaya Patra mission is no child in our country should be deprived of education because of hunger. So, there is poverty in our country, but if a child becomes educated, that education really improves the opportunity for negotiating in the society for an individual. So we want to see that children, and food, and a big deterrent for children to get educated in the school is what is called classroom hunger. So if children are hungry in the classroom and they cannot absorb the lessons, so a simple meal, one good meal will make that educational experience very, very interesting for children. So that has been the intent of the Akshaya Patra.
And overall, how many volunteers are involved in this?
Okay. There are about ISKCON volunteers are about 200 volunteers who are involved in operations and also some amount of fundraising. And we also have about 6,000 employees.
Okay. And is there any other organization in the world which is like parallel or similar to Akshaya Patra?
Yes, in ISKCON itself, we have 2 organizations. One is the Akshaya Patra, and from ISKCON Mumbai also they have a midday meal program. We work, they have we have shared with them all our designs and kitchen design and many things. So very similar format, and they also feed quite a large number of, I think about 12, 13, 15 lakhs.
But besides ISKCON, I don't think there is any other organization which is doing at such a large mass scale, at such a big scale, midday meal program.
To my knowledge also, there are a few. In fact, we have also encouraged a lot of NGOs. And we have an open book policy of Akshaya Patra, where we freely share all our learnings. And there are many, many NGOs who have also taken up. All of them of a smaller scale, not to the scale that Akshaya Patra is doing. And so, there are so many children to be fed, so many children in our country. and there is enough space for everybody to be part of this activity of feeding children.
Yeah, true. And as you know that we are going through very rough times and everything has become very difficult. In fact, we were also planning to shoot first in March. We had to cancel it. Now we were planning to shoot in August on a very important issue of Kashmir and the Hindu
Okay.
genocide of Kashmir, but we have to keep postponing it because every day somebody falls sick. So logistically, everything has become sort of very, very difficult. And but I believe during this crisis, Akshay Patra has done some amazing work. Please tell us in detail about that, what you have done. I believe 5 crore people you have fed, how you have done it, how you could take this challenge, and what is it
Okay.
that has been driving your entire team to take this challenge in such a professional, consistent manner.
Okay. As we are all aware, it started happening in the month of March.
Ji.
So in the month of March, the schools in many parts of India were closed. Some parts of India it was still functioning, uh, and so our Akshaya Patra kitchens were available. And anyway, once the lockdown began, schools were shut, and children were not coming to the school. And
Hmm.
naturally, the government approached us and asked us if you can feed other people in the country who are in need of food. So we have done that in the past too. There were some natural calamities. Once there was very big floods in Gorakhpur. There were floods in Kerala, in Chennai, and a big train accident in Uttar Pradesh. So whenever some calamities and such natural disasters happen, government looks upon us and we immediately jump in and provide, because we have these kitchens where we can make 1 lakh meals in about 5 hours time.
Okay.
So we eat hot cooked meals, and our meals are according to the different parts of the country. We make that kind of meal. In Gujarat, we make Gujarati meal. South India, we make South Indian meal. In Uttar Pradesh, we make a North Indian meal. So in Assam, we make Assamese meal. In Odisha, we make Odia meal. So we can make local meals in any part of the country. So we are usually approached by the government, and so we were doing that. And so this time also, we immediately, all those different state governments and municipal corporations started approaching us, and we started cooking and distributing. But this time, the challenge is a lot more complicated, because it's an infectious disease. It's an infection which can spread, and our own staff are in when they go out to the places and they are distributing. So we had to be very careful. So other than cooked meal, we came up with another idea. We started making a essential grocery box, which would have dry raw material, groceries required for 2 adult meals for 21 days, which is about 42 meals.
Hmm.
So it has rice, it has wheat, it has wheat flour, it has got dal, it has got chili powder, it has got masala, it has got all of these kind of things that is needed for making a full meal, and put them all in a box, and that box would weigh about 16 to 18 kilos. And we started making these boxes, and you go to people who need this and deliver it. One point, you have addressed 21 days 42 meals problem for that person. So you see,
Hmm.
there's minimal contact. So with a minimum contact, because if you feed a cooked meal, after 8 hours, 10 hours, the person will become hungry again. You have to go make one more contact, one more contact. So it has its own challenges. So on the one hand, we were cooking meals in our kitchens, large kitchens, and we these grocery boxes, and we were distributing this to people. And that's how, when you combine the two, grocery kits and the cooked meals, all put together, the latest count I wanted to share with you. The latest count is that we have touched 7.2 crore meals in the last 2.5, 3 months time.
Mind blowing figure. Oh my God, that's a world record. I mean, nobody has done that.
Yeah, and we have been serving in Dharavi, in Mumbai, in Pune, in about 70 locations in 18 states in the country. We have been distributing, and
That's
so if
very impressive. That's so impressive. I mean, this is uh, literally. I mean, this gives hope to the world that yes, in a crisis there are people who are accepting this challenge. And so, as I told you, this is the future of life we are talk, and our theme is also hope in the new world. I have two very important questions and one very frank and honest question I want to ask you. A lot of people see. I'm also trying. I'm in film industry, and there are lots of actors and assistant directors and filmmakers. Basically, some have fought with their parents, some have run away from their homes. People are sleeping on railway stations, but it's only about hope. They have dreams and hope, and they think someday people will recognize their talent. So Bombay is a city of dreams and city of hopes. And a lot of people go to Siddhivinayak temple, they go to ISKCON. In fact, a lot of film actors go to ISKCON. And that's why we also conduct our functions, our director association functions at ISKCON auditorium in Juhu. But personally, a lot of people have been asking me, in fact, some people asked me to ask you also, that during this corona crisis, most of the things are failing and crumbling, right from capitalism to also the organized religion. The only thing which is succeeding is humanity. Now you are connected with both religion as well as humanity. One can also give an answer saying religion is humanity or humanity is the only religion. But people are saying that what is the role of organized religion now? Organized means where we preach. In the modern scenario, where for next 1.5, 2 years, people are going to have no jobs, they have to be isolated. Temples and churches and all the religious places are shut down, and preachers can't preach, people can't give sermons. The only human act is surviving. Then why not humanity should be a universal religion with the changing world? So, in this scenario, first, tell me what is the role of hope in the new world? What is the hope? Why should I live if Corona is killing everybody? And second, I asked you, what is the role of religion, organized religion, when the humanity is succeeding?
okay. You see, you talked about humanity and religion. Are they same, synonymous, or what? Are they different things? And religion also has, there are many examples of religion and religious groups having run into problems. You know, the most wonderful thing about, you see, there is one thing is there is religion, which is certain practice, but the core of religion is spirituality.
Hmm.
There is a certain spiritual force that is animating this body, and that is true of all human beings, not just human beings, even animals. And that the quality of that spiritual, that force in all the diverse living entities, it is the same. And caring for that spiritual spark of life which is animating in all our lives, in all our bodies, caring for that is actual spirituality. And so our Vedic literatures address that. You know, it's just like there is a story. There was a king who had a bird, and because he was a king after all, he had a golden cage. And so he was taking care of the cage very nicely, polishing it, and put the cage in different path in the palace garden, in the Darbar hall.
Hmm.
So one day he came, and he was very attached to that, the cage and the bird. And then one day he found that the bird had died, and he felt very sorry about it. And then he started reflecting what happened. Then he found that he was so busy taking care of the cage, he had forgotten to feed the bird, and the bird had starved and died. You see?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So, in the same way, this body is a cage. And inside the body, inside this cage, there is a bird, the living force, which is actually present. Now, in modern society, what has happened? There has been an undue emphasis on taking care of the external cage and neglect of the soul inside the body. And while we have to take care of the body and the bodily needs, that's very basic, we also have to take care of the spiritual needs of the soul. So we had developed this kind of a society and a civilization where our definition of happiness and fulfillment was providing the needs of the body, while it has place. If we don't eat, if we don't drink, if we don't have a comfortable place to live, we can't even do other productive things. It is required. But along with that, we also have to take care of our spiritual well-being. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmaram yudhyacha mayarpita mano buddhir mameva eshyasi asamshayaha. Krishna says, you should always think of me and fight. Krishna did not say you just do meditation, you think of me, and then you go to the Himalayas and go to the forest. No, he said you should do your duty as a yodha, as a fighter, as a warrior. So in other words, the path that Bhagavad Gita and our Vedic literature, religion teaches is we have to run our lives on two tracks. Actually, we are all capable of running our lives on more than one track. We may have our personal lives, professional life, that's one track. On another track, simultaneously, we must also have spiritual development going on. So when we do both, then not only we are addressing the material needs of the body, we are also taking care of the spiritual needs. And always in the material world, these ups and downs are expected to happen. It is one form of the other. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes this material world as dukkhalayam and ashashvatam. It is a place of misery and a place of impermanence. And if you see carefully, our deepest aspiration is to be free from misery and to be in a permanent situation. And we just get the opposite in this world. So why is this situation like that? So it is expected that as human beings, we learn with this spiritual knowledge another kind of an existence called spiritual existence that is actually due to us because we are ultimately spiritual beings. And when you understand these two tracks, any amount of dangers and difficulties that comes in the material life track, we will be so enriched with knowledge and understanding, we will not be perturbed by those difficult situations. Prabhupada gave one nice example. He said, sometimes a cat carries a mouse in its mouth. And what is the experience for that rat? No, it's like a death experience. The rat is full of fear. Sometimes the cat carries a kitten in its mouth. Exactly the same thing. But look at the experience the kitten is going through. Fully happy. My mother is carrying me. Safe. I'm secure. And for the rat, it is full of fear, despair, gloom, disappointment, hopelessness. So this is what the spiritual knowledge and awakening makes. When we have that spiritual knowledge, then we will know that there are cosmic forces that are working in this world, and I'm all part of that. And I'm in tune with that greatest cosmic force. And hence, everything, like this, it looks like, what is the world going out of control? Scientists are saying one thing, they're changing their version, they're saying this and that. They're struggling to find a vaccine, they don't know, and they are saying there are scams and political scams and this and that. And political leaders are also grappling with this. So it looks like, my God, it's a hopeless situation. No, it is not hopeless. There is somebody who knows everything and is in full control of it. And I am devoted and dedicated to that supreme controller. So why should I fear? That's what happens in the mind and the consciousness of the kitten. Kitten feels very secure because I'm protected by the mother. So spiritual awakening does that. We are not alone, we are not unattended, we are not uncared, even though these ups and downs in the material world happens, and I am very safe under the protection of the Lord. So that's the kind of a spiritual consciousness that this can bring about. And one can feel bliss that no, things are not out of control. There is one person who is holding everything in control, and I'm under his protection. Why should I be a fear? So that confidence.
Very, very good example you gave. I mean, amazing. And in fact, I was reading somewhere. There is someone a young boy, who just graduated, and he was told by a gentleman, "Let me give you a job." You know, so this young boy said, "Against whom?" What I'm trying to say here, that the whole world today has started thinking in terms of against somebody. We are, everything is you versus me, and me versus them, and me, I, and us. So the whole world has got divided in such a manner that the entire globalization, the consumerism, this capitalism, the market. I spend most of my life in marketing and advertising, and I realize whatever is being done today, and I'm telling you from experience and pure science. In fact, I'm doing an episode this Saturday. I'm planning to do on this subject only to tell people that all the forces of the world, be it politics, be it market economy, be it social science, be it army, everything is trying to keep you in the lower consciousness. They don't want you to go into higher consciousness, because the minute you go into higher consciousness, right, everything else becomes less important, and then there's no importance for this. So that's why they're concentrating on body, they are concentrating on senses, they are concentrating primarily on vanity and the beauty and the pleasure, and nobody wants you to move from lower consciousness to higher consciousness. So I have been experimenting a lot, and I'm going to, in fact, now I'm dedicating all my life in this area. Is that what if the Indian youth discovers their creative consciousness to begin with? Because when we are born, we are gifted with only two things: how to breathe and how to be creative, how to imagine. And that is higher consciousness. Without that, you can't move into spiritual space. Now, what is happening is everybody is living in lower consciousness, and we are teaching them Dharma and Sanatan and Gita, everything at the lower consciousness level. We have brought down the higher teachings to lower, and that's why the religion and spiritualism and everything has become again a commodity.
Right.
And why I have deep respect for you and your organization, because you are not doing that. You are setting an example of creative consciousness, which is through Akshaya Patra. And when you feed and you satisfy that hunger, then this is a great spiritual work of humanity.
Yes.
And with this bonding and connection with the world, where you are enlarging your family every
Yes.
single day, connecting souls, you are taking the humanity to a higher consciousness. I may be
Yes.
wrong in analysis, but so you and I are trying to do more or less the same kind of thing. I am doing at a very individual level, you are doing at a very mass level. So why is it that the entire society is forcing everybody to keep them at lower consciousness, and therefore the whole definition of dharma, the whole definition of sanatan, is also at a very lower consciousness level? People don't even know what it means, and they're using these jargon all the times for political agenda. I'm sorry I've made it a bit too elaborate because it's very close to my heart, and maybe I'm also seeking somewhere I'm confused. So please guide me.
Yeah. You know, it is said in the Vedic society, in the Indian society, it is the duty of a certain section of people who will become deeply engrossed in spiritual knowledge, and it is their duty to share with the rest of the world. And when that knowledge is not being shared with the rest of the world, in a way that the rest of the people can understand, everyone
Hmm,
does not have the same degree of spiritual appetite. So there are different people with different degrees of spiritual appetite, but according to their appetite, in an interesting way, spiritual enlightenment must be provided. Unless spiritual enlightenment is there, that greed will not go away. So while they pursue material objectives, which is not a wrong, with moderation, you nicely brought up in your introductory talk. In fact, these were the words even Srila Prabhupada used: simple living and high thinking. What we have done is the contrary to that. Very complicated thinking, very simplified, very complicated living, and very simplified thinking.
hmm,
Our lives have become very complicated, and and that is because of scheming and various intrigues. How I do this, and how I conquer this one, how I exploit you, and how I exploit another person, and then nobody comes to know of it, and I grab as much as possible. All these forces are working at a very fundamental level in the society. And these forces can be kept at bay when people develop a higher taste. There is one very nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Uh, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Just like when we were all small children, we were attached to toys. And when we were small children, if we have a toy and somebody takes away our toy, we will cry so much. Oh, he took away, my brother took away, my sister took away the toy. Right? We would cry so much. But then as we grow, we give up our attachment to toys because we have developed, we have learned to appreciate bigger things, better things in life. So what Krishna is saying is, when you develop higher taste, you will give up lower taste. So if you don't develop higher taste, you will still be attached to the lower taste. So the spiritual practice, in spiritual principle in our Indian tradition, is how to encourage people to develop higher taste by which they will give up the lower taste. So in our lives, for instance, we may not have big houses, we may not have big bungalows, we may not have cars, we may not have, like you said, fancy cars and all those things. But we are not missing it either. We are not thinking, oh my God, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. Because we have learned there is a vocabulary of higher taste, higher pleasures, and that is keeping us so busy and preoccupied that we don't care. Just like as you have all, you have learned filmmaking and all the creativity and all those things. You don't regret, oh, I'm not holding on to the toys that I used to as a small boy. No, you don't even regret you are having given up. So in the same way, if when we develop spiritual tastes, then the tastes for material pursuit, material aggrandizement, greed, all that goes away. And then we will think that, yes, what is needed for my decent, pleasant life? Some things I don't need so much. I don't have to agree. There is that UN statistics is there. I don't know, even now it is something like this 9 or 8 or 9, 10. I think it is less than 10. 10 or less than 10 number of richest people in the world. If they share the wealth that they have, they can wipe out poverty in the rest of the world. See, this so shows very clearly uneven distribution of wealth. Prabhupada used to say, actually, you see, in the bird and the animal kingdom, there is no hunger, starvation, all that, because God is maintaining them. It's only in human beings all these problems exist, because we are not aligning ourselves with God's plan and God's wishes. Just like a father or a mother, if you're taking your child out, mother is taking a child out, mother has made all plans for the child's well-being. In the same way, when God brings us to this world, He has made a plan. But we are violating the plan, we are disregarding the plan, we are trying to figure out our own ways of organizing this world, and we have limitations. And our own greed and all these things will really cripple our thinking. And hence, we will not be able to organize a world of fair distribution, and all this greed and all these things will continue to plague and cripple humanity unless we elevate our consciousness to a spiritual consciousness and develop spiritual taste. And that's what Indian philosophy is about. And I must share with you one more thing. I think it was about 1950s or so, Prabhupada wrote a letter to Jawaharlal Nehru.
Okay.
Letter. Of course, at that time, this was pre-ISKCON. He had not yet founded ISKCON. He was a in Mathura, Vrindavan, and he was a sannyasi. He was obscure. Nobody knew about him. He was writing books. And so when he meets a letter he is seeking an appointment. And then in that letter, he writes one thing. He says, the Socratic method of questioning. So Socrates, a brilliant Greek philosopher, he developed a method of questioning a certain thing called Socratic method of questioning. It's basically a method of critical thinking. And you can analyze an issue and you go to the basics and try to understand what is causing this problem, what is the issue, and all those kind of things. Cause-effect analysis and analysis. So that Socratic method of questioning, critical thinking, has actually influenced all facets of human life today. Whether it is business, whether it is science, whether it is technology, whether it is public policy, in every aspect, we do critical thinking, right? So Prabhupada writes, just imagine if this Socratic method of questioning and thinking and analysis, if it was confined to Athens and Greece alone, the world would not have benefited from that. Because the Socratic method was taken out of Greece, taken all over the world, and influenced all facets of life, and hence it has improved life in many ways. In the same way, in our Vedic philosophy, there is something very basic and fundamental and very powerful which can influence and benefit all of humanity. It should not be just confined to a few priestly class, few caste conscious people, few people like that. It should be taken to everyone in the country, everyone in the world. This is the wealth of our country. And we must share this with everybody and help everyone enrich their lives with this knowledge. So something very fundamental, very universal is present in the message of the Vedic literatures. And when Prabhupada went to foreign, this is what he would say very boldly. He would address Americans and Britishers and different parts of the world. A lot of people from our country must have come to your country, and they must have told you, I'm coming from a very poor country, we need, with this aid or this benefit, this help and such things. But no, I want to tell you a different things. I want to give you a new narrative. I have not come from a poor country. I have come from a very rich country. And I have not come to ask you something. On the other hand, I have come to give you something which you don't have. So I've not come to take something from you. I've come from a very rich country, rich with knowledge, rich with culture, rich with values. And I've come to give you something that you don't have. This was the perspective that Prabhupada had, that India has this rich knowledge, spiritual wealth, and that should be shared with the rest of the world. And if the world is governed and organized according to this new system, new knowledge that Vedic literatures are sharing, you can have less animosity between individuals, and there can be much more pleasant happiness and peace in this world. And so it's a different paradigm, and that paradigm can influence public policy. That paradigm can influence business practices. It can influence governance. It can influence personal life of people. So there is something very wonderful, and we should share this with the rest of the world and share this narrative that has to be popularized and systematically taught. And so this is what is lacking today, that systematic education is not happening. And like rightly you pointed out, in the name of organized religion. So sometimes there is nothing wrong with organized religion. It, like many things can be organized and you can develop it and make it big. But it should be founded on 4 principles. This is what the Bhagavatam teaches. There should be truthfulness. There should be austerity, readiness to sacrifice. There should be compassion, daya, and there should be purity. If these four things are considered to be the pillars of Dharma. So if these 4 pillars are strong, then if you have an organized world or whatever, it will not pollute the consciousness of the people. And if people are very seriously practicing these things, very sincerely practicing these things, then that sincerity, that purity will bring that force to bring that change in the world. So this was the aspiration of all acharyas in our country. And this knowledge should be shared with the whole world. And because the whole world is one family, like you pointed out. So there should be unnecessarily, we are creating barriers and boundaries. So these were some thoughts.
Brilliant, very nice. I mean, it's been 1 hour and pata bhi nahi chala kab ho gaya. It was like time flew. You are right. One more thing I'll add to it, creativity. It's my personal belief that 4 pillars you said, I think we need one more invisible pillar, creativity.
Okay.
Somewhere what has happened is that we are, all the education system does not teach children how to be creativity. Only if you see children when they are, before they go to school, they are so creative. And when you are creative, you are kind, you are compassionate, you care about others, you look at life differently. But we have made everybody destructive. That's why all these problems like corona and lockdowns are happening, because we went on a spree of destroying the great human nature, the great
Yeah.
human potential, and the potential of this nature, Mother Nature. And we started believing that we own this world and we can do anything. And that ego, that power, that control has
Yes.
destroyed a lot of things. I think it's time to go back to living in harmony with the universe and the world and the people. What you people are doing is amazing. It's extraordinary work. It's very inspiring work. And next time when I'm in Bangalore, I'll come and meet you. I'm
Very much.
starting my school of creativity where my only, like you are feeding people's hunger. I want to feed people's mind with a lot of creativity. And I want people to discover the purpose of school of creativity is that people discover their creative consciousness. It's just very
Wonderful.
spiritual. It's based on the
Very,
principles of Gita. And
very
please treat
nice.
me like a brother and extension of what you are doing. When I come to Bangalore, I'll meet. So
So
bless
nice.
us all.
So nice. So nice talking to you, Vivek. And wonderful thoughts you have. Creative is very important. And I wish you very good for in your school of creativity.
So please, thank you very much. Keep inspiring us. Keep doing great work. And may Lord Krishna bless us all and everybody gets the strength and the power to be of some use to the society and contribute to the society, especially in these crises.
Namaste. Namaste. So nice talking to you.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, friends, that was in the series of the future of life. Another work which I am undertaking. I try to bring to you very unusual people, very different kind of people. Normally, the tendency of people is to invite those people who will get you lots of views, lot of likes. I am totally, in fact, I have made it a law that anybody who gets you sensationally lot of views and RTs and likes and no, I bring to you those people who contribute, who are thought leaders, who have vision, who quietly are contributing to the society, and whose knowledge can actually enrich your life, which can inspire you. If you have any suggestions, any names, please feel free to tell me. I would like to invite those people. We'll have long discussion. In the meantime, these days, if you a lot of people are asking me what am I up to, yes, we were planning to shoot in August, but Mr. Anupam Kher, who's one of the main lead actors, his family, his mother, everybody is sick with corona, and the film industry is also very confused. Mr. Bachchan is also in hospital. Abhishek is also in the hospital, so we have postponed it. I am next month. I am planning to launch School of Creativity, which is primarily community service. I want to educate the youth of India, channelize them, and help them discover their creative consciousness. So how they become successful in life. And I have taken it as a mission upon myself that in 1 year, if I can convert 100 young people's life into a successful life, only when they learn about how to be creative, not creativity like painting or music or dance and drama, but creative consciousness and use it, apply it in your life and become successful. That's what I'm up to. I'm devoting all my time doing that. So please wish me luck, bless me. I need your Ashirwad more than any other time. May God give me that strength. So आपसे मैं बहुत जल्दी फिर मिलूंगा. Next Sunday, not this next Sunday, the week after this, 26th, I think. I am going to come up with 4 brilliant intellectuals of this country, amazing intellectuals, and we are going to discuss a very, very important subject, which is creativity and criticism. In modern times, is it good to criticize? Is not good to criticize? How much should we criticize? How much we should not criticize? Whether we boycott somebody, whether we ban somebody, if we don't like. What is creativity? It's going to be a very, very interesting session. So I'll see you soon. तब तक के लिए नमस्कार, जय हिंद, एंड प्लीज अपना ख्याल रखिए. घर में जो बड़े बूढ़े हैं उनको मेरा चरण स्पर्श बोलिए और आप उनका खास तौर पर ख्याल रखिए. धन्यवाद.